Assalamu alaikum. This is Shahana Wahid, and today we will discuss antibiotics. They can also known as antibacterials, and these medications can be able to destroy or slow the growth of the microorganism, most importantly bacteria. They are, however, these if we talk about antibiotics, then they cannot treat viral infections like cold, flu, and most coughs. If we talk about their mechanism, there are different types of the antibiotics, antimicrobials. First of all, most important is the cell wall synthesis inhibitors. These are penicillins, cephalosporins, carbapenems, and glycopeptides. They are responsible to inhibit the cell wall synthesis, which is mainly present in the gram-positive bacteria. Then we have certain RNA polymerase inhibitors like rifampicin. This inhibit the RNA synthesis. Then we have fluoroquinolones, which are DNA gyrase inhibitor, which inhibit the DNA gyrase enzyme. Then we have the protein synthesis inhibitors like nitrofurantoin, which inhibit the synthesis of the protein. Then other types of antibiotics are also there, which are mainly interfere with the ribosomal function, and they may inhibit the 50S unit. If they are inhibiting the 50S unit of the ribosome, they are macrolides and lincosamides. And if they are acting on 30S units, then these are the aminoglycosides and tetracyclines. Both of them are very important types of the antibiotics which are currently used in tertiary care. Then we have toxic metabolites present, which are basically responsible for the inhibition of the anaerobic microorganism or bacteria. These are the metronidazole, which mainly produce the toxic metabolite in the cytosol of the bacteria. Then we have certain folic acid pathway synthesis inhibitor, which is the trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazone, and dapsone, which are responsible for the inhibition of or for the conversion of dihydrofolic acid to the tetrahydrofolic acid by inhibiting the enzyme tetrahydrofolic acid reductase inhibitor. And the last one is the mycolic acid inhibitors, which are mainly used in case of tuberculosis, which are isoniazid and ethambutol, and they inhibit the mycolic acid pathway of the bacteria. On the basis of their nature, basically they are of two types: either they are bactericidal or bacteriostatic. If they are bactericidal, it means they very finely proficient at the concentration of the cell level, and they basically kill the bacteria. And the most important examples are the vancomycin, fluoroquinolones, penicillin, aminoglycosides, cephalosporins, carbapenems, and metronidazole. These are bactericidal antibiotics. While we have bacteriostatic antibiotics, and static means that they include erythromycin and macrolides, clindamycin, sulfamethoxazole, trimethoprim, tetracycline, and chloramphenicol. Whenever person got an infection which is mainly responsible for any type of the microorganism, then initially when it visit to the doctor or physician, he will start a empiric therapy. And what is the empiric therapy? Is basically a tentative initial therapy to reduce the symptom, and it is an hit and trial type therapy. The physician usually choose antibiotics that cover for most likely and lethal organism for the particular type of infection which a person suffering from. And before starting the empiric therapy, it is mandatory to perform certain types of laboratory tests and certain types of certain types of antibiotics which are mainly reserved for the serious infection will not prescribe during the empiric therapy. These are reserved for the serious infection. Otherwise, the person, the physician has no choice for those organisms if the microorganisms are already resisted. Then after that, the antibiotic should be adjusted, and if the causative organism is identified, then the proper antibiotic to which the organism is sensitive will be started. And if causative organism is not identified and the symptoms are persist for more than 3 days, then there will be need of the re-evaluation of the ongoing antimicrobial therapy, and then the empiric antibiotic should be stopped. To rise the antibiotic resistance by changing their DNA or by changing their body, so that the several types of resistant mechanisms are there, जिसके through जो है ये जो है resistant develop कर सकते हैं. Furthermore, another important thing is the side effects, that there are several types of side effects which are associated with the use of the antibiotics. To avoid the emergence of the resistance, usually physician prescribe more than one antimicrobial at a time. And what are the reasons for this combination type of antimicrobial treatment? Is there may be a chance of the polymicrobial infection. For example, it may be possible that at a time more than 2 or 3 microorganisms are responsible for the causative disease. So to eradicate them completely, then a physician usually combine one antimicrobial to the another to increase its efficacy, to increase the synergy, especially for the difficult or for the problematic pathogens like Enterococcus species है, Haemophilus influenza है, H. pylori है, that they are responsible for severe type of diseases. And to prevent the emergence of resistance से बचाने के लिए बहुत ही ओवर टारगेट करके इनको जो है कॉम्बिनेशन थेरेपी के जरिए जो है वो रेजिस्टेंस को अवॉइड किया जाता है कि सारी माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म किल हो जाएं. Briefly on the basis of mechanism, this is the classification. Among them, cell wall synthesis inhibitors, glycopeptides, protein synthesis inhibitors, topoisomerase inhibitors, antimetabolites, antimicrobacterials, and sulfones. What are the examples of cell wall inhibitors? These are penicillin, cephalosporin, carbapenems, and glycopeptides. These are the types of penicillins, and the normal penicillin is the penicillin G and penicillin V. Penicillin G is only available in IV form, while penicillin V is available as the oral formulation. If we further classify it, then there is the modification of the penicillin G, which yields ampicillin, which is again present in IV form, and amoxicillin, which is present in the oral form. Then modification of penicillin V will lead to the cloxacillin, which is basically reserved for the methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Ampicillin and amoxicillin is previously effective against the Enterococcus and HIPLS, which is the Haemophilus, Proteus, Listeria, E. coli, Salmonella, and Shigella. This is the abbreviation to recall these type of microorganisms. Otherwise, it is very difficult to remember all types of microorganisms against which these antibiotics are effective. After the addition of the clavonic acid, the ampicillin is further converted into the amoxicillin clavulanate, and another class is the piperacillin, which is effective against the Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Enterobacter. And we have the piperacillin, which are the Tazobactam. Benzyl penicillin is effective against gram-positive organism except the Staphylococcus aureus and Enterococcus and other oral anaerobes. While its mechanism is very simple, it's bactericidal beta-lactam inhibitors of cell wall synthesis by binding principally to the protein, penicillin binding protein, which is PBP, preventing cross-linking of the peptidoglycan. The main problem related to penicillin is the induction of the immediate allergy type anaphylaxis urticaria, and this allergy type may be late onset allergy which result in urticaria, rash, serum sickness, and very problematic is the interstitial nephritis, damage of the kidney. Those related toxicity may include seizures, diarrhea, etc. What are the indications? Mild to moderately severe infections caused by the susceptibility organism, including actinomyces, streptococcal pharyngitis, streptococcal skin and soft tissue infections, and pneumococcal pneumonia and syphilis. Contraindications are those if the patient is previously encountered hypersensitivity reaction to the penicillin administration, then it will be avoided. Then we have aminopenicillin, which is available in both form, IV and oral form, and the same coverage is there for the aminopenicillin, as most of the time penicillin V get resistant, and we will substitute penicillin V to aminopenicillin. Same mechanism, same adverse effect, and indication is somewhat more different, and it is mainly indicated for the bacterial meningitis and endocarditis and acute otitis media, streptococcal pharyngitis, sinusitis, and acute exacerbation of the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, H. pylori treatment, and several other types of pneumococcal pneumonia, UTI, etc. The main problem again related to the aminopenicillin is the hypersensitivity to the penicillin or beta-lactam antibiotics. Then we have the most potent type of the antibiotic, which is the benzyl penicillin along with the clavulanic acid, and these are basically methicillin resistant or sensitive antibiotics having the same mechanism, same adverse effects, and they are due to the resistivity of the methicillin, they are basically indicated for the bacterial infection caused by the staphylococci and streptococci, including skin soft tissue infections. So most of the dermatologicals में हमें ये जो है वो पेनिसिलिन जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव नजर आएगी. Benzoyl penicillin. Then we have beta-lactamase inhibitors, combinations of amoxicillin with clavulanate, and these are basically reserved for the penicillin and Staphylococcus aureus, Haemophilus influenza, Enterobacter, anaerobes, etc. The problem is that beta-lactamase is produced by certain types of bacteria which inactivate these type of the antibiotics. So, clavulate is basically beta-lactamase enzyme inhibitors that inhibits the inactivation of the penicillin. So, lactamase inhibitors prevent this process, preserving the antibacterial efficacy. Various beta-lactamase producing bacteria, clavulin sensitive bacteria, including the RTI problem जो है जो इसमें होगा कि उसमें इसका भी जो है वो resistance जो है develop हो जाएगा. And again the same problem of the hypersensitivity is also for the fourth type of the penicillin. These then we have the cephalosporins, and we have basically 5 generation of the cephalosporin. One generation is not mentioned here because it is the old PowerPoint presentation. We have among them the most common one is the third generation, which is the cefixime, cefotaxime, ceftriaxone, which is mostly prescribed in the tertiary care hospital. The mechanism is same, that they are the cell wall synthesis inhibitor, and they usually serve as an alternative for the penicillin. Penicillin का ये alternative है. हर generation से हमने एक example यहाँ mention की है, which first is the cephalexin, which is the IV preparation है cefazolin. Its IV preparation is cefazolin, and it is good with the exception of Enterococcus and MRSA, which is the methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. And generally it is effective against E. coli, Klebsiella, and the Proteus mirabilis and Haemophilus influenza. Material is same, that cell wall synthesis inhibitor by bactericidal activity on the same penicillin binding protein and prevents the cross-linking of the peptidoglycans, and they are less susceptible to the penicillinase enzyme, which is present in which is mainly produced by the microorganism during the resistant emergence process. There is a chance of 10% penicillin allergy, cross-reactivity, and nephrotoxicity. Other indications are the skin and soft tissue infections, prevention of the surgical site. सबसे ज़्यादा जो हमें जो है सर्जरीज में जो है वो प्रिस्क्राइब होंगी वो cephalosporins होंगी because of the infection caused by the Staphylococcus aureus and Streptococcus aureus. Then we have the second generation, which is cefoxiime, which is weaker activity than first generation. However, more coverage in case of GN, and the same mechanism, same adverse effect, and the indication is for the cefoxiime second generation is the upper and lower respiratory tract infection, and in those conditions in which there is a failure in bacteremia, pneumococcal pneumonia, and soft tissue infections. For the community-acquired pneumonia, we have the choice of the third generation, which is the ceftriaxone, cefotaxime, and ceftazidimide, and cefoxiime. These are all the choices which are usually prescribed in the hospital setting, and there is also preferred because there is only 1% chance of the cross-reactivity against the penicillin allergy. They are supposed to be a good alternative of the penicillin if the problem is of hypersensitivity reaction, and they have very good coverage like community-acquired pneumonia, gonorrhea, community-acquired bacterial meningitis, and the pelvic infections, and certain encephalitis, etc. Furthermore, cefoxiime is considered as the empiric therapy for febrile neutropenia, in which a person has a very lower count of the neutrophils, due to which a condition is developed in a patient of persistent fever. Another type of the cell wall synthesis inhibitors are the carbapenems, and they are most now prescribing drug in the hospital settings. These are imipenem, meropenem, and ertapenem. They have a broad coverage, like they are effective in gram-positive, gram-negative, and anaerobes. They are also effective in Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Ertapenem. Glycopeptides are the small peptides having a glucose moiety, and they are effective against all gram-positive and Clostridium difficile microorganisms, and it is available in oral form, and they are mainly reserved. They are very important because कि क्लोस्ट्राइडियम डिफिशियल जो है वो एक प्रॉब्लम है जो कि एंटीबायोटिक के ओवर यूज में, स्पेशली ब्रॉड स्पेक्ट्रम एंटीबायोटिक के केस में क्लोस्ट्राइडियम डिफिशियल से जो हमारे पास इन्फेक्शन होते हैं, डायरिया होता है, वो स्प्रेड हो जाता है. तो इसके केस में दे आर रिजर्व फॉर द ग्राम पॉजिटिव एंड क्लोस्ट्राइडियम डिफिशियल एक्वायर्ड इन्फेक्शंस. Mechanism is very simple, that glycopeptides stereochemically inhibits the cell wall synthesis, क्योंकि वो जो glycopeptides जो कि cell wall की synthesis के लिए चाहिए उसकी बजाय ये जो है वो खुद अपने आप को उसमें insert कर देते हैं. And the most vancomycin है basically, and they have the adverse effect of Redman syndrome, nephrotoxicity, ototoxicity, and thrombocytopenia. Usually it is reserved for the severe and life-threatening infections of gram-positive infections and patients with the beta-lactam allergy. It may only be taken orally for severe clostridium difficile. यानी अगर clostridium difficile है तो उस केस में ये orally लेते हैं क्योंकि वो intestine में होता है, इसलिए orally लेते हैं. Otherwise इनका जो oral bioavailability है, it is not so good. So they are mainly reserved for the IV or parenteral routes of administration. Again, hypersensitivity may possible. Depending upon the types of ribosomes, they are 50. कौन सा राइबोसोम का यूनिट जो है ये इनहिबिट करते हैं? They are of 50S and 30S. 50S mean the example of 50S is the macrolides and lincosamide, and for the 30S we have the example of aminoglycoside and tetracycline. Macrolides are mainly effective against gram-positive type of bacteria, that is Haemophilus and atypical bacteria, Legionella and Chlamydophilia and Mycoplasma. And the examples are erythromycin, clarithromycin and azithromycin, and these are again most prescribed antibiotics, among which the azithromycin is of most importance. These are the summary of coverage and mechanism, adverse effect and indications and contraindications. In erythromycin is basically bind to 50S ribosomal subunit and inhibit the protein synthesis, responsible for GI upset, acute cholestatic hepatitis, and mainly they are effective for the diphtheria and Legionnaires disease and other skin and soft tissue infections, mainly effective against gram-positive bacteria and except Enterococcus, and gram-negative bacteria like Legionella B and atypical Chlamydia mycoplasma. Same coverage of all three types of antibiotics. Among them, azithromycin is now most commonly used for the COPD and community-acquired pneumonia in skin infections and other Campylobacter infections if treatment indicated chlamydia. Then we have lincosamide, which the example is the clindamycin, which is effective against gram-positive, gram-negative and anaerobes. And then we have the chloramphenicol and linezolid. Again, they inhibit the protein synthesis. They inhibit the peptide bond formation at 50S ribosomes, and they are basically responsible for the production of membranous colitis and GI upset. Choices are clindamycin, chloramphenicol and linezolid, and basically they are effective against gram-positive, gram-negative and anaerobes, especially MRSA, which is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Aminoglycosides are basically effective against gram-negative aerobic bacilli, and gentamicin, tobramycin and amikacin are the example of the aminoglycosides. Problem related to aminoglycoside is the nephrotoxicity, ototoxicity and the vestibular toxicity. They are mostly indicated in against the gram-negative infections when alternatives do not exist, and UTIs used in low doses for the synergicity with beta-lactams or with vancomycin for the treatment of severe enterococcal infections. If the person is suffering from the hearing loss and renal dysfunction, then these are usually contraindicated. Another example is tetracyclines. Among them is most commonly used is the doxycycline, while tetracycline is not used. They are effective against gram-positive and syphilis and chlamydophilia and rickettsia mycoplasma. They bind to 30S subunit of ribosome and inhibiting the protein synthesis, responsible for the GI upset, hepatotoxicity, and different type of photosensitive reaction. The most important problem related to these type of drugs is the teratogenicity, that they cannot be used during the pregnancy. They can also produce the adverse effects of the yellow teeth and stunted bone growth in the children, so they are also avoided in the children's. Severe renal or hepatic dysfunction or pregnancy or lactation or the children under 8 use, they are contraindicated. And we have topoisomerase inhibitors. These are fluoroquinolones, rifampin, and metronidazole. Fluoroquinolones are basically effective against gram-negative bacteria, and however, problem is occur due to the emergence of the resistance. The choices are ciprofloxacin, which are effective against Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and another is norfloxacin, which is reserved only for UTI. Then we have respiratory fluoroquinolones. Some are gram-positive and some are for gram-negative. Atypicals and mycoplasma. Then we have the levofloxacin and moxifloxacin, which are mainly reserved for the anaerobes. These are the common picture of the fluoroquinolones, and the adverse effects are not so much there, which are usually bearable, and indications are too much. So you can see that upper and lower respiratory tract infections, not unless susceptible organism isolated, UTI, bone and joint infection for susceptible organisms, and skin and soft tissue infections, etc. So in most cases, fluoroquinolones are basically suggested by physicians. Then rifampicin. Rifampicin is basically inhibits the RNA polymerase enzyme, and its coverage is gram-positive cocci, meningitis, Haemophilus influenza, and mycobacteria. And it is also a part of multi-drug treatment for the active tuberculosis, and either it will be alone or for the treatment of latent tuberculosis, part of the multi-drug regimen of the microbacterial infection. Also part of the endocarditis therapy, and especially if the endocarditis therapy involves the prostatic valve or prostatic device infections. They are also a choice of antibiotic. They are reserved for the prophylaxis for those person who are exposed to the meningitis or HIV meningitis. And the contraindication is the hepatic dysfunction, because it is basically responsible for the induction of hepatic enzyme P450 system and causing the hepatic dysfunction by increasing the LFT and the change of the tears and the saliva color. We can say that rifampin is good adjunct for treating the prostatic device infections, and always used in the combination with other antibiotic to reduce the emergence of the resistance. Metronidazole is basically reserved for the anaerobes, including the Clostridium difficile and Trichomonas and Amoeba histolytica. It basically forms toxic metabolites in bacterial cell which damage the microbial DNA, and adverse reaction is basically disulfiram type reactions which usually occur with the ethanol. However, it may also responsible for the induction of seizures and peripheral neuropathy, mainly reserved for the protozoal infections, and it is the drug which is mostly irrationally used during the population. It is available with the name of the flagell. Then we have anti-metabolites like trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole, and nitrofurantoin. They mainly inhibit the folic acid pathway and inhibits the dihydrofolic acid reductase enzyme. Coverage is gram-positive bacteria and Staphylococcus aureus, including MRSA, and other are pneumocystis, toxoplasmosis. Contraindications are hypersensitivity to sulfur drugs, and adverse effects including the hepatitis, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, bone marrow suppression, hyperkalemia, drug toxicity, etc. Another is nitrofurantoin, which is mainly reactive metabolites, anti-metabolite. It inhibits the ribosomal protein synthesis, and adverse effect is basically on the liver, that is it's mainly responsible for the cholelithiasis and hepatitis hemolysis, if especially if the person is glucose 6 phosphodehydrogenase deficient. It is mainly indicated for the lower urinary tract infection, and contraindication is the hypersensitivity to the nitrofurantoin, and there may be a condition because of the damage of the kidney, and in case of the kidney damage, polynephritis or anuria, oliguria, or there is a significant renal impairment, then this drug is contraindicated. Then we have mycobacterials, basically isoniazid, rifampin, ethambutol, and pyrazinamide. These are basically responsible for the either inhibition of the mycolic acid synthesis or inhibition of RNA polymerase. And the most common adverse effects of these types of regimens on the liver, they are collectively hepatotoxic, and basically they can drug induce certain types of SLE, that is the systemic lupus erythematosus. It is a part of multi-drug treatment of the active tuberculosis, and if the person is suffering from hepatitis or renal damage, then these regimens are usually avoided. Or if the main decision is based on the डॉक्टर्स और फिजिशियंस के वो किस बेसिस पे उसको अवॉइड करते हैं, तो अभी तो हम ब्रीफली देख रहे हैं, हम डिटेल्स में नहीं देख रहे. For the leprosy, we have Dapsone, which inhibit the folic acid synthesis by the competition with the PABA, which is para-aminobenzoic acid. This picture indicates the several types of antibiotics selection for the different types of bacteria. For example, ciprofloxacin, for example, in case of Pseudomonas, we have choices of ciprofloxacin, gentamicin, tobramycin, and Tazobactam, Ceftazidimum, Cefepime, Meropenem, Imipenem. For Staphylococcus aureus, we have fluoxacillin, which is the MSSA, and first generation cephalosporin, clindamycin, vancomycin, linezolid, and daptomycin. For Enterococcus, we have choices of ampicillin, amoxicillin, vancomycin, nitrofurantoin, linezolid, daptomycin, and tigecycline. For Haemophilus influenza, we have choices of amoxicillin, clavonate, cephalosporin, macrolides like erythromycin, levofloxacin, and moxifloxacin. For anaerobes, we have choices of metronidazole, clindamycin, amoxicillin, clavonate, cefoxitin, piperacillin, moxifloxacin, ertapenem, imipenem, or meropenem. The most important thing for the selection of the antibiotic is the determination of its culture sensitivity, जो कि हमें time to time जो है वो patient to patient, premises to premise will vary, and depending upon the sensitivity of the patient, then उसकी final जो therapy होगी वो फिर decide की जाएगी. Treatment of clostridial differential is reserved. In this case, we have the metronidazole or oral vancomycin, considered both in serious infection. This is all about the summary of the antibiotics.